Thank you all so much for joining us today for the 2022 Meet the Fellows program. We are so excited to have a majority of the this year's ArtTable Fellows with us here today who are going to talk to us about their fellowship projects this year and what they've learned so far and the experiences they've had so far throughout the fellowship. But before we begin, I just want to briefly go over some logistical things. And my name is Haley Carloni, by the way. I'm ArtTable's National Programs and Chapters Manager. My pronouns are she, her. And just so everyone knows, you have been muted for the duration of the presentation portion of today's program, just to ensure we have a smooth conversation from our speakers. We don't have any background noise and such. But during the end, we are going to have a time for Q&A. And then we will go into breakout rooms. So you'll be able to unmute then, ask questions, and chat with some of the fellows. We are also recording this program for our archives. So if you just want to ensure that you're not shown at any point, you can just keep your video off for the duration. But we'd love to see you. So please make sure to keep your microphone off, but you're welcome to keep your video on. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to ArtTable's Executive Director, Jessica Porter, who is going to introduce today's program a bit more.
Welcome everyone to this opportunity to meet this year's ArtTable Fellows. Each year for the last 22 years, ArtTable has conducted a fellowship program to address the lack of diversity in arts employment. This fellowship provides quality experiences and mentorship to women identifying and non-binary graduate students and emerging professionals from backgrounds generally underrepresented in our field. Each fellow is placed in a host institution for a specific project and is also paired with a mentor from ArtTable's membership. Through these relationships, fellows have the opportunity to work with established leaders and gain exposure to a range of professional activities and guidance. This year, we have 17 host institutions, which means we have 17 fellows, which Haley will drop the list in the chat. Thank you. Support for this program is provided by ArtTable's Impact Initiative Fund, established earlier this year in honor of Meg Perlman. This fund supports the fellowship as well as our career roundtable programming, our diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility programs, our upcoming pay equity project, and our affiliate membership program. The fellowship itself is also supported directly by individuals, foundations, and corporations. I would like to thank all of those who contributed to making this program successful this year. Julie Armistead, Annette Blaugrand, Martha Campbell, Capital One Art Program, Helen Frankenthaler Foundation, Andrew Peter Garr, Doug Garr, Elaine Goldman, Dunja Gottweiss, Alva Greenberg, Donna Harkavy, Lila Harnett, Frances Harris, Leslie Heller, Herschel Supply Company, the James Howell Foundation, Lauren Kelly, Karen Lemmy, Timothy Long, the Pierre and Tana Matisse Foundation, Justin Meyer, Merck and Company, National Endowment for the Arts, Francis Rasheshka, Elizabeth Sackler Museum Educational Trust, Marcia Santoni, Leon Polk Smith Foundation, Lenore G. Tawney Foundation, and Barbara Tober. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to thank our mentors, the Impact Initiatives Committee, and of course, Lucia Roldan, who is ArtTable's Director of Development and Impact Initiatives and directly works with this program. If you have any questions at all about the ArtTable Fellowship generally or wish to support it so that we can provide even more fellowships next summer, please contact me. I'll put my email in the chat. And now I am going to turn it over to Alana Hernandez, Executive Director and Curator, CALA Alliance, and a former ArtTable Fellow. Welcome back, Alana.
Thank you, Jessica. Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. I would just, I was asked to briefly give an overview of my past experience. As Jessica just mentioned, I was an ArtTable Fellow in 2015 at the Phoenix Art Museum. So it is kind of a full circle moment, right? I'm back in Phoenix at CALA Alliance, and I got to host Yokari, who you'll hear a little bit from later. And she was with us this summer, which was excellent. just a bit about it, my experience as an ArtTable Fellow. It was really helpful, right? It was early in my career. And so it was a first look kind of at a mid-size institution. I got to work very closely with Vanessa Davidson, who was a curator at the time there, and her curatorial assistant, Gabrielle Munoz. So as curators probably know, she was super busy, right? Vanessa was working all the time, traveling all the time. So I had a really great relationship with a lot of the colleagues in the institution. So I worked closely with the CA and I worked closely with the registrars, right? My project was primarily dealing with collection research and things like that. So it was a nice kind of in-depth look at that. And so it led obviously to other things in my career. It expanded my network in that way, which was nice. I went back to New York after and finished grad school and did other internships, fellowships, and then finally had museum jobs. And then now I'm here at my new position where I'm helpful and hopefully providing Yokari the same benefits that I got from my fellowship. Some advice I guess I could give to the fellows, what I learned at my ArtTable Fellowship, which was really unique into the other programs I was in, was to really make sure you keep in touch with your mentors, with your colleagues, all of those, because they'll kind of follow you throughout your career. It is also really helpful to spend time, ask for coffees, ask questions. Not everyone knows exactly what you're seeking out of your fellowship. So it'd be really important to be kind of transparent, what you want to learn, what you want to shadow, how you want your mentor or colleagues to model for you. It's really important and kind of invaluable. And I find that this network has been helpful and generous in that way. Yeah, so I don't know if there's any other questions or if any of the fellows want to ask me questions. We could also say that for the end, but just a very brief overview of my time as a fellow.
Thank you so much, Alana. That means the world to us. This is a symptom of the success of this program, that you are here with us and that you are there leading CALA as you are doing. So thank you so much, and thank you for being a great supervisor for Yokari. So I would like to move forward now and introduce the amazing cohort of fellows we have this year. I would love to introduce Cheyenne Adams, who is working at the Studio Museum in Harlem, New York, for the first time this year participating. So thank you so much, Cheyenne.
Hi, everybody. My last name has been Adams my whole life, and you'd think I get used to going first, but it's still so nerve-wracking every time. But I've worked this summer at the Studio Museum of Harlem, and basically I've worked extremely closely with the curators of the permanent collection. And so I've been able to take my time and really sift through their NetX portal of their permanent collection shows and tag artists and really expand my knowledge of African-American artists and artists of African descent. And I've been able to really take a hard look at the museum's history and the public programs that they've offered, the exhibitions that they put on, and I'm learning a lot about how an institution as special as the Studio Museum is operating within the larger scale of the New York City Museum Collective, because I am in Baltimore and Washington, D.C., so it's extremely different to see how they're compared to like the Smithsonian's. And so it's been an extremely valuable experience for myself and for my growing practice. And so I'm super thankful to the team, and I see them in the chat. So shout out Habiba, Connie, and Ilk. They have been such a big help to me this entire summer, and I'm extremely grateful.
Well, thank you so much, Ian. I have to say that we send the challenge to all the fellows to make a summary about the experience they are living in only 2 minutes. So we were asking the fellows, what is your background? Please introduce yourself and how is the project you are working on as a fellow, and why ArtTable Fellowship is important to you. So thank you so much, Ian. And now I would like to continue with Lara Arafe, the Baltimore Museum of Art ArtTable Fellow. So welcome, Lara.
Hi. Thank you, ArtTable. Thank you, Lucia, for organizing this. My name is Lara Arafe. I'm the Curatorial Fellow at the Baltimore Museum of Art. I also work for an artist based in New York and host a series called The Cultural Majlis. My focus is looking into the different effects of colonialism and on different cultures and how that affects how we look at and analyze art and the intersectionality of different social and political movements, specifically through a feminist lens. The project I'm working on now at the BMA is called Survivance, Centering Native American Voices Through Anti-Colonial Actions. The project is set to culminate in a publication, internal workshops, public programs, and an exhibition. For the internal workshops, I looked into different organizations that offer educational sessions for museum staff on decoloniality and how best to represent Native voices. The organizations that we're looking into are all Native women-led. Under the guidance of Darian Turner, Curator of Native American Art from the Yurok tribe, and Lila Groth, Curator of Contemporary Art, I've been completing scholarly research on decoloniality and Indigenous culture and representation. As part of this research, we visited galleries and museums in New York and DC to look at contemporary Indigenous art as well as historic Native American art. The NMAI in DC was a great way to kind of be immersed in the diversity of Native American art and look at community curated exhibitions. And it was also a great introduction to Native American food, which is kind of another aspect of the research. So I'm really grateful for this experience. It's really broadened my research, and it's been such a pleasure working with Lila and Dar. Thank you so much, Lila and Dar. I think you're here.
Thank you so much, Lara. And now I would like to hear from Alessandria Bingham, who is working at Capital One Art Program in Virginia. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandria Bingham. As Lucia mentioned, I'm working with the Capital One Art Program and their corporate art collection. So my background is in art history. I've been working in nonprofit museums and curation and programming. And currently I've just made the switch to commercial arts and getting my master's degree, an MBA, and a Master of Art Business. So with the Capital One Art Program, I am working with their corporate art collection. So my main focus is their Art Ambassador Program, which is essentially working with the associates and associate engagement for doing tours of the collection, the different exhibitions that they put up, and the main campus in Tyson, Virginia, as well as in many of their other campuses in places like Texas and Toronto. So that's been a lot of research into just the type of artists that they collect. So looking at how they are diversifying their collection, including
my name is Candace Borders. I am the Curatorial Fellow at the Contemporary Art Museum in St. Louis. I am also I'm a PhD candidate in American Studies and African American Studies at Yale University. I am living here in St. Louis, working on my dissertation and also getting to work with the curatorial staff at CAM. So primarily, I have been working on the Great Rivers Biennial Show, and it's a really great exhibition that happens every 2 years that spotlights local St. Louis artists and supports them with kind of like their first major exhibition in an art museum. And so it's been really great. I have been working a lot with didactics. So I've been writing a lot of the wall text, which is awesome, kind of like the first text that visitors will see when they walk into the museum, and then also working on the gallery guides as well. So I am just so thankful and grateful that I have been able to do this fellowship. And I've just received the best mentorship and support from Misa and Wesson at CAM. So yeah, I've been really enjoying this summer. It's a little bittersweet that it has to end soon, but thank you to everyone and thank you to ArtTable.
Thank you so much, Candace. Thank you. So now we would love to continue with Amanda Elena Brito, who is working at Oklahoma Contemporary Art Center. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Elena Brito. I'm currently here, as Lucia said, in Oklahoma City, and I absolutely love it. It has changed my life. It is amazing to be out here. I'm a Latin American and Caribbeanist by trade, so I focus a lot on art of Latin America, art of the diaspora, migration, and those are really big themes in my research. So I moved here to Oklahoma City to work with Oklahoma Contemporary, and it's been really interesting, I think, thinking about the connections between Miami, where I'm from, and Oklahoma City as a sort of crossroad of cultures, which I had no idea it would be like this moving out here to Oklahoma City. The amount of diversity out here is truly, truly amazing. And in that vein, I've been working a lot with the museum in terms of diversity and migration. I helped Pablo, who is here, my phenomenal mentor, and I helped him with Destination Oklahoma briefly at the very end, working on some translations. And I worked on that. But the main project that I've been working on is called La Casa que nos inventamos, which is the house that we invented for ourselves, roughly translated to English. And it's a collaboration between Oklahoma City and Oklahoma Contemporary with Museo de Arte Zapopan, MAZ, which is in Mexico. So I have been working with Kate Green, who is our Director of Curatorial Affairs, and I've been also working with Viviana Curi. And I've been just doing it all, really. I write didactics, I translate, I assist with programming. And really the show is just about this thriving art scene in Mexico that not a lot of people know about, and how Jalisco and Guadalajara, by extension, have this beautiful, thriving, extremely unique art scene. And what creates something like that? What engenders that to take place there and take root? And really examining the parallels between the art scene in Mexico and the art scene here in Oklahoma, because there are actually quite a few. And there are a lot of similarities between cultures. So like examining those kinds of corollaries is a lot of what I've been doing. And I'm really thankful to be out here because it's given me a lot of perspective and a lot of, it's taught me a lot about working at smaller, like community-based grassroots organizations that are really invested in the ways that art change the community, the way that art can make the community better. My background is really, I'm used to working at bigger institutions that are not as community oriented. So this has been, I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. And I really can't talk highly enough about Pablo, and also Kaylin Roach, who is here, who's the curatorial assistant. The two of them have just been so transformative to me, and they've helped me so much. And everyone else, Amina, Steve, Kate, everyone that's in this department. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm just so happy to be here and share what I've been learning.
Thank you so much, Amanda Elena. Now, I'm very glad to introduce Lulu Luyao Chan, who is working at the James Howell Foundation in New York City.
Hi, I'm Lulu, and I'm a multimedia artist in New York, and currently I'm a grad student in School of Visual Arts. And I also have some background with art history in my undergraduate. I'm currently hosted by the James Howell Foundation, and mainly organizing the collection of James Howell, and also doing all the archive, all kind of archive work since like James Howell when he is alive. Like all his work is really like detail oriented and really kind of similar, even though it's artwork, but kind of similar with like connected with mathematics and also scientific. So it's really a big work to doing all this kind of archive organized. And so that's the main work I'm doing right now. And also I'm loading their archive to their website, organized with their website. And we also hold some events. Like last month, there were some events for curator community and also some speech events, which is also like I'm sorry. And I think I'm really glad to have this opportunity to become an ArtTable Fellow. Since I'm like just moved to New York for like just 1 year, so it's literally the first job I got in US. So I'm really excited and I'm really glad working with all the people in James Howell Foundation and also ArtTable staff. Thank you.
Absolutely, Lulu. We are very, very proud of the work you are doing. And also, we are organizing a casual after work on August 10th for the fellows who are in New York City. So we will be there in any case someone wants to join. So I am happy to continue with Michelle Hugh Chu, who is working at the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum in New York. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, everyone. I prepared a presentation, so a bit shift in tone. Okay, I'll be quick. Born in 1897, Dorothy Liebes began studying art in her early life, hoping to become a painter and an art teacher. When an instructor commented that her paintings looked like textiles, she began experimenting with weaving, setting up a studio in her parents' attic in the Bay Area with 2 hand looms. The vibrancy of California had perhaps infused the artist with a penchant for color, but it was the eclectic urban landscape that provided Liebes the unconventional materials that she would take to another level. Chinatown shops and markets, for instance, presented an array of supplies from ribbons and beads to bamboo and slats of wood. While fabrics of the time conventionally consisted of cotton and wool, Liebes interlaced a variety of eccentric everyday materials, some of them delicate, others metallic and shiny, informing the parts to a whole of fabric. Perhaps as a prototype for thinking about her work, this can be used to describe not only her aesthetic, but the design thinking that was at play, the potential of materiality and techniques for application, for building worlds, so to speak. With her fabrics and textiles appearing in architectural and interior projects, films, fashion design, industrial and mass market products, the United Nations building, American Airlines, and Sears, just to name a few, this history intervenes on longstanding assumptions about modern architecture and industry, craft, and design. By the 70s, her idiosyncratic vision, branded the Liebes look, was applied to a myriad of household products, from blankets and rugs to lampshades and blinds. Yet the world of Dorothy Liebes has not surfaced in design history or acknowledged by historians of modern art and architecture, making the work of my fellowship's project, the 2023 monographic exhibition on the textile designer, that much more worthwhile of a challenge. Conducting research at the Frank Lloyd Wright Archives, digitizing microfiche scans, drafting the chronology section for the book, digging for archival footage, and storyboarding for the film component of the show have consistently raised for me those delicate questions concerning methodology and our digital environment that from a pedagogical standpoint feels urgent. Working within the context of a design museum, Cooper Hewitt, I find myself persistently asking what design is, especially in relation to other disciplines. The work of exhibiting and writing on design history seems to carry extra weight in questioning its own practice, as materiality, use, and techniques are often brought to the fore. If historians typically ask, how did it happen or how we got here, and designers, as Liebes puts it, always ask, what is it for and why, then the work of design historians and curators, it seems, requires a double dose of asking the right questions in an environment that seems to endlessly produce information. Or to quote Moholy Nagy, designing is not a profession, but an attitude. The fellowship has given me lots to think about as a scholar and researcher and enriched my understanding of the interconnectedness of so many parts to a whole. Sorry, I was trying to be really quick for the 2-minute challenge assignment.
Absolutely, Michelle, you did it perfectly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. So now is the turn of Rebecca Cintron Loaziga, who is working at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Rebecca Cintron Loaziga. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I'm a graduate student at NYU Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies. My research is really focusing on anti-colonial education, Latin representation, Latin American and Caribbean diaspora, and museums as community space. This summer, I'm working within the Met Museum's Education Department, specifically audience development and engagement under the guidance of Suheili Bautista Carolina and Alexis Gonzalez. During my fellowship, I'm working on the relaunching and reimagining of the Civic Practice Seminar, which is a component of the Civic Practice Project, researching on how the Met can best serve surrounding communities, artists, and cultural workers. And I just want to take a moment to say I am just beyond grateful to ArtTable for this amazing opportunity to work with just amazing and such talented individuals.
Thank you, Rebecca. You are the amazing here. So let's continue now with Yokari de los Santos, who is working with Alana at the CALA Alliance in Phoenix, Arizona.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Well, good afternoon for those on the East Coast. My name is Yokari de los Santos, pronoun she, hers. And as you heard earlier, I'm working with Alana, who has been a great support and very good at like answering my questions, and it's been such a learning experience working with her and the rest of the team. Being in Arizona in the heat is not bad in the summer, but besides the heat, it's been like a great experience because my interest has been in Latinx artists. So being able to work with artists and learn about their practice has been very helpful. And during this process, I've been helping Alana with exhibition support and assistance with the residency program. I'm also providing scholarly research in past residencies and also visiting artist studios. And I'm also helping CALA's cultural literacy program called HIBA, or How I Became an Artist, which essentially audiences get to learn about the artist's practices. One of the huge takeaway, and even hearing her advice, is how important it is to cultivate relationships, because you never, especially with artists and curators and organizations, because you never know in the long run how impactful they can be, or how one day you're like, oh, I remember I spoke to this person, maybe I hit them up, I can like get some insight, or I can even help them, or they might need you. And to kind of like build it on the long way and to keep in touch with them as well. So hearing that advice, and like I've heard this in the past, and I think now more importantly, because the art world, it's not as big. Everyone kind of knows each other. Even though Phoenix is small, like even in New York, people kind of always know each other. So keeping in touch and just continuing to, and also do it in a genuine way, like if you actually truly are interested in that organization, because you never know in the long run. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Yokari. And now I would have loved to introduce Sophia Ellis, but unfortunately she had an emergency today and she won't be able to join us. She's working at the Morgan Library and Museum, and same happens with Juliet Johnson. Unfortunately, from Materials and Application is not going to be able to join us today. But I would love to continue with Luisa Repsol Franza from El Museo del Barrio in New York. So welcome, Luisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Luisa Repsol Franza, and I'd like to thank you for having me. It's really great to be here, and I'm really grateful to be a part of this ArtTable Fellowship. And thank you, Lucia, for all your support and your attentiveness with me during this process. And also I want to thank, of course, my supervisor and my mentor, Susanna, who is here right now. I am a master's student in art history at Williams College, going into my second and final year, and I'm focusing on Latin American modern and contemporary art, more specifically on Brazil, where I'm from. And mostly my research centers on textiles, craft and embroidery, and craft as a form of political resistance, feminist scholarship, sort of different things around that. And I'm very grateful to be at El Museo del Barrio this summer. This is my first experience at an institution dedicated to Latin American art. So it's been a really, really great learning opportunity to be part of this small but mighty institution where everyone is just so supportive and kind. And this summer, I've been working on a collections-based research project that's aimed at doing a sort of evaluation of the collection in preparation for a series of upcoming collections-based exhibitions next year. And I've been going through different catalogs of exhibitions since the museum's inception in '69 and the exhibitions in the early '70s, and looking at participating artists and all the works that were shown, and looking at creating records on the museum system. And so I've been like creating records for all of these works and all of these exhibitions so that our registrar, Daniel Silva and Susanna, are able to look at all of these exhibition histories and then, you know, survey discrepancies between loans, works that might have been purchased by the museum in the past and that are not accessioned or have been accounted for in a different way, and also be able to trace histories of collaborations between these artists, many of whom are still in the local community today, and the institution and the people who have been working with and alongside the institution for the past decades. And it's been such a great opportunity to be able to learn about El Museo's history here in El Barrio and in New York City at large. And I've also been able to support Susanna with other projects for upcoming exhibitions like the Juan Francisco Elso exhibition. And also hopefully going forward, we'll be doing some more research as I return to school to help with some other upcoming projects that are also aligned with my own research in textiles and crafts. So I'm really, really grateful, and thank you for having me. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Luisa. Thank you so much. So now let's continue with Kimari Jackson at the Seattle Art Museum.
Hello, hi, good morning, afternoon. My name is Kimari Jackson. I am the current fellow with the Seattle Art Museum in Seattle, Washington. During my time, well, my background, sorry. I'm currently a graduate student working on my master's at Morgan State University for the Museum Studies and Historical Preservation program. During my time so far as a fellow for SAM, I've had a really great opportunity to work with a really great team, met a lot of helpful individuals on SAM staff. I'm currently working with Ashley Mead, who is the associate registrar of rights and reproductions, Elizabeth Smith, who is the collections records associate, and Mia Firm, who's the project manager of historical media collections, all at SAM. During my time as a fellow, I've been working with broken digital files to enhance the accessibility of digital videos through eMuseum as well as SAM's website. I've been converting the files and working as well with past public programs like Sam's YouTube series, My Favorite Things, which is different videos about from different artists who basically pick their favorite object in Sam's collection and speak about it. And then adding captions to them through TMS, the museum system, so the museum's database. I am currently remote. So I've had opportunity to work remotely, but everybody has been very much helpful regardless of the time difference or being that I'm all the way in Florida and they're in Washington, so big time difference. And I've learned to work collaboratively with a museum on the other side of the country, as well as learning my own work style, since I am working remote with the museum. But overall, it has been a really great experience and I have learned a lot. I still have 3 more weeks, so there's still a lot more to learn from everyone there.
Thank you so much, Kimari. So now let's continue with Stephanie Jackson from Aman Foundation in Brooklyn, New York.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. So my name is Stefanie Jason. I am a PhD student in art history at Rutgers, New Brunswick, and I am working with Amont as a research fellow on the upcoming exhibition, Jane Cortez, A Poet's Guide to the World, and that opens next fall, in the fall of 2023. And I've been working closely with the curatorial team at Amont, and that is Ruth Estevez, who is the director and chief curator, as well as Isabella Nimmo, who is the associate curator. And for those who don't know Jane Cortez was a poet from the US, and an artist who had a very sort of multimodal practice, like starting in theater in the West Coast in Watts, LA, and then sort of later developing her poetry performance / music performance with her band, the Fire Spitters. She has been connected to the Black Arts movement, and she also sort of created these monoprints, and she was involved with politics and like the civil rights movement, and then also was in solidarity with movements across the globe. So she had this really like transnational ethos, and she was part of like movement against apartheid in South Africa, and sort of was connected to so many people and like artists within Latin America and the Caribbean. So just this really sort of rich and dynamic life and history. And this exhibition is sort of centering her work and sort of like complicating or just like centering this like very dynamic and illustrious career. And working with Amont, specifically Ruth and Isabella, has been really fruitful and made me think more deeper about some of the things that I am interested, which relate to archives and diaspora, and thinking about sort of African and Black cultural and creative production. And it's been great working with the team, sort of like as they have been like guiding my own practice, or just like showing what a practice of care and archival care could look like, and also working collectively and in community as we work closely with the family of Jane Cortez and some scholars that were very close to her, as well as the Schomburg Center. So yeah, it's been a really, really fruitful and fertile experience. And also as I'm working with my mentor, or getting to know my mentor, Claudia Ofwana Draber, which has been a really great partner in UP also. So yeah, thank you so much to the Amont team, and thank you ArtTable for this invaluable experience.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Now I am very, very glad to introduce Chris Reader from Montclair Art Museum, New Jersey. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Hello, it's been great hearing about everyone's project. I am Chris. I am currently a second-year master's student in the Visual and Critical Studies program at the School of the Art Institute here in Chicago. This summer, I'm working as a curatorial fellow in the curatorial department at the Montclair Art Museum in Montclair, New Jersey. I'm currently working on the reinstallation of the permanent collection of Native art. So I conduct a lot of theoretical, scholarly, and community-based research on the ways that gender, the environment, and community formation are present, celebrated, and critically analyzed throughout Native art. I'm also working on an upcoming show that celebrates the Black artists within MAM's collection. So it's been really exciting over the last few weeks. I have become incredibly familiar with the art, accession, and care of over 150 objects by amazing artists like Kara Walker, Faith Ringgold, and Thornton Dial Sr. So it's really been a great summer working with the archives, thinking through curatorial theory and programming. So I'm very grateful to all of the folks at ArtTable.
Thank you so much, Chris. Well, our fellow Tatiana Neal at Amerinda and King Khalifa House is not able to join us today. So I would love to introduce our last fellow today, Xiao Wei from Swan Galleries. So welcome.
Hi guys, it's so impressive to see everyone's project. My name is Xiao, and I'm a recent graduate major in studio art and art history, and I will keep continuing my journey about the RMA and PhD program in art history in University of Chicago. And I'm so grateful to be involved by Swarm Galleries this summer as an ArtTable Fellow. And my main task for the summer is helping with an annually LGBTQ Pride sale opened in the mid-August, which includes over 400 collections ranging from the print poster to the paintings and the photographs. And we also include artists like Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, and Paul Cadmus. So my fellowship starts from the beginning of July, and what I have done for the first month is mainly about participating in all aspects of the auction process and getting familiar to its inventory and cataloging online system. And I kind of rotate between different departments to learn how to do the inquiry research, how to do the condition estimate and price estimate from the specialist, and also learn from the art people who take in charge of the art shipment and installation departments. And right now I'm working on making conditional reports for the client and providing additional details in our system so that the buyers can have a more comprehensive views of the collection, even though they cannot come to the gallery because of the special pandemic's time. Yeah, and I'm really excited about the future auction sale and like to explore more, accumulate more experience this summer. Especially, I'm really interested in the women issue, the sexuality, gender issues in installation art, and I care about the visual representation of women in the hand screw paintings, the fan paintings, the ukiyo-e printmaking, and also I care about the women artists. So this summer program makes me thinking about the sexual minority and keeps me thinking about how to react with our sexual orientation and sexuality. And yeah, thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much, Xiao. So right now, I think we are ready, Hailey, to open our turn for questions, comments.
Yes, so mostly in the chat, we've just been getting a lot of thanks and wonderful comments from our host institution representatives, just, you know, congratulating the fellows and thanking them for all their amazing hard work over the summer. So definitely take a look in there if you haven't seen those throughout the whole event. One question I did get, I'm sorry, let me find it again. I think if any of the fellows would like to chime in on this one, you can just go ahead. And the question is, what single piece of advice would you give to next year's fellows? And I know some of you may have mentioned that, but if there's anything else you can think of and you want to just chime in, please go ahead.
I think I'll chime in. I think I have some that I would like to contribute. I think the relationship with your mentor is just so important, and I cannot like underscore that enough. I think Pablo, I mean, he's downstairs and I see him right there. He has been like my backbone through this entire thing. Like any question I've ever had, any resources I need, and not even just here, beyond, like thinking about going to a PhD, thinking about programs in the future, thinking about working other jobs in other museums. I mean, Pablo has really done it all for me. He has just been so phenomenal and he's been so supportive. And we just have like a wonderful rapport, and the way that we talk, and, you know, we're open with each other, and he's just been so great to work with. And I think establishing that connection with your mentor is so important, because it makes you happy to come to work. Like it makes you feel you're fulfilled. You feel good about coming to work. You feel supported. You feel seen. You feel heard. And I know that I'm spoiled and I'm blessed with that. And it may not be everyone's experience, but if you can't have it, I think it's very important. And also doing research if you're going to move, because when I came to Oklahoma City, I had like an entire itinerary of everything that I was ready to see, experience, and do in Oklahoma City, because it's really such a unique opportunity to live somewhere else, especially for me coming from the East Coast in Miami to now the Midwest in Oklahoma. And I think that's really important. That's something that I would push other fellows next year to think about.
Very nice. Did anyone else want to add anything to that? No pressure. Okay, amazing. We do have some other questions coming in from our board president, Jennifer Scanlon. I would be interested to hear if any of the fellows changed their perspective on the art world or learned something that surprised them about working in an arts organization, or developed their ideas further about an arts career. So just if that resonates with anybody, again, we can just chime in here.
I can say something. It changed a little bit of my perspective. It made me a little bit more excited at the prospects of working as an archivist. Even though I'm getting an MFA, I could still have an opportunity to work as an archivist and really just make a difference through it, through activism, and really understanding how to amplify the voices of people of African descent.
Fantastic. Anyone else want to add to that? No worries. And another question, do you plan on remaining in touch with your mentors after this experience? And with the cohort of fellows as well? Anyone wants to chime in?
Of course. I mean, we're all graduate students and, we're all each other's colleagues. And I think I speak for a lot of people here that I've been, so welcomed and so cared for in this fellowship and treated, as a colleague. And I think that going forward, I would love to keep in touch with Susana and Rodrigo and everyone who has supported me and also helped me make connections with other people this summer too. Yeah, that's also great advice for people who are planning on doing this fellowship next year, or just in general, just keep in touch with people, share what you're working on at school, share your personal projects, it's very important.
Great, thank you, Luisa. And I just got another direct message question. And again, please chime in. Did anyone get a chance to meet other interns or colleagues at your larger institutions outside of the specialized department that you're in? Yeah, and what that experience may have been for you. I guess that kind of depends. Yeah, Yokari, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I didn't want to interrupt anyone, so I raised my hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of CALA, I got to meet other organizations and got to learn about their program. It's somewhat similar, but also like very drastic, very different. I'm also actually zooming in from the Phoenix Museum. I've been here many times, but they also have been drawing connections with CALA. But my experience with that is like you cultivate relationships with multiple organizations, not just one organization. It's just so helpful to hear like the voices of other organizations and their perspective and their way of organizing. So yeah, it's been very wonderful hearing other people, and also to how open they are. Like they let me access the space very easily. So very thankful.
Amazing. Does anyone else have a similar experience? Yeah, I think Kamari and then Stephanie.
So yeah, I have had the chance to meet other staff from SAM, as well as every like other week we do like an intern check-in, and I get to meet the other interns that are already on site as well. So I've been able to, again, I'm remote, so I get a lot of Zoom meetings and meeting other people within SAM, but everybody there is still very, very nice, and I do plan on keeping contact with everyone when this experience is over.
Stephanie, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I actually want to add something to the earlier question just about like perspectives changing about the arts world. I think because I'm in a PhD program and maybe other students, graduate students might be able to relate or might resonate with other students. But I think for me, it was just learning how sometimes different a PhD program or like being in academia could be from working in an art organization or museum. And there are definitely some like areas which intersect, such as like the research and the sort of like concepts that go into these ideas. Also, it's just like the conceptualizing. However, I was like kind of intrigued by the day-to-day work that curators might be doing. And that for me sort of made me really excited to want to be a curator and sort of like to step into a space of curating. So that was really great to see. And just also like from the conversations that I've been having with my mentor and working at Amont, also just like thinking about what support for artists looks like and what that might feel like for while doing this work. And I think while being in the academy, you sort of like get insight into that, but I think seeing it in like experiencing that while at Amont or through my conversations with my mentor has been really, really great.
Amazing. Thank you, Stephanie. And Michelle, did you want to add anything?
Oh, sure. Just very quickly to get all three of the previous questions wrapped into one. What I learned about the so-called art world, the perspective change is mainly that I was so supportive and welcomed at Cooper Hewitt, like from the very beginning, from the interview, and that was such a refreshing thing for me. And consistently throughout, it feels like I have this armor because I have expectations of how the art world or even like a master's or graduate school like formality would be, and I would kind of go in and have that be calmed or settled or soothed and said, you know, this is actually a very supportive environment. And so I think that was the major perspective for me. And then also for the we have weekly check-ins with other departments. So I've really been able to see how I suppose mid-sized institution, Cooper Hewitt, like how everyone is just working so collaboratively. Like every day, it's just having a bunch of meetings with different departments. And I think that's really just kind of illuminating from the standpoint of having worked at other bigger institutions.
Amazing. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, fantastic. I believe that was the bulk of the questions that we had. Unless anyone has anything else to add, feel free to throw it in the chat right now. But otherwise, Lucia, I think we are ready to do breakout rooms if you are.
Yeah, I think so. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all the fellows, a huge thank you to all the host organizations, the fellowship committee, our board members, our ArtTable community at large, and all the supporters for sure. This is happening because you are believing in this project, and this is very, very important to us. A great thank you to our executive director, Jessica Porter, and my colleagues, Haley Carloni and Sarah. So thank you so much. Haley, we are ready to be distributed in different breakout rooms to have like more intimate conversations with the fellows.
Amazing.